Welcome to A Celtic State of Mind. I'm John Dykes, and once again I'm joined by Jim Simonette. This is the Celtic State of Mind Bulletin, but we also have two other special guests. Welcome to the show, Stevie Mullen and Jim Watt.
Thanks for the invite, guys.
Thank you, guys.
It's a pleasure to see you. We're going to be speaking about all things Celtic and what's been happening over the last 24 hours. The big question, first of all, Stevie, I'm going to come to you because you suggested about a week ago, maybe even longer,
10 days ago, yep,
that Shane Duffy was a man to bring in for Celtic's ailing central defence. Talk to us about Shane Duffy.
Well, we've got Shane Patrick Michael Duffy, who I think would be a great addition to our defence. I've got concerns about the current incumbents of the positions, so I think if you were talking about going to a three, Shane would be ideal. He's a perfect age. He's 28 years of age, 6'4" height, good, robust tackler. Club record fee of £4 million when he signed for Brighton from Blackburn. He made 63 appearances for Blackburn, 122 appearances for Brighton, and 33 caps for the Republic of Ireland. I think he fits the bill perfectly for what Celtic need just now.
In terms of his playing style, who would you have him partnering, Stevie, or does that give us more of an opportunity to play the three at the back? I
would play a three at the back, and he would just be the guy who goes and tries to win everything there. Julien and Dyer can play either side of him and pick up. The guy from Kilmarnock who gave the problems, when we played them earlier in the season at Rugby Park, he was running about like a stolen motor during the game and posed no problem. Last week when he's playing against Julien, he gave him a real torrid time. So I think if we had three, that guy would have been just nullified at the weekend. Jim,
running about like a stolen motor. Now, that's a tremendous expression.
That's a north side of Glasgow saying that. But what Stevie said is true. I think that the only one thing is I didn't know Stevie was his agent. The way he read out his record there. But we really struggled on Sunday. Really struggled at the back. And just to have someone to sort of work things out and tell people where to go would be great as well, definitely.
It's encouraging, Jim, that obviously we spoke about yesterday the fact that we all know where we need to strengthen, but we're already further down the line than a lot of fans maybe think in terms of bringing players in. So, Jim Simonette, Shane Duffy, do you think he is a guy to shore up our leaky defence? We used to call it the sieve back in the 90s. We're not as bad as that yet. I mean, Ayer and Julien individually are both excellent footballers, but I think bringing in the experience of Shane Duffy would be a good move.
I'll go with Stevie. And I would agree that that would be a fantastic add to the Celtic squad, but most importantly to the Celtic back three, because I favour the 3-5-2 system, providing we've got players that's able to work within that system. So Stevie would have him right at centre back there, on the left centre back and the right centre back. Stevie, who would you have either side of him then? Who would be the left centre back and who would be the right centre back?
Aya would be to the left, Julien would be to the right.
Yeah.
My only concern, I listened to Jim Leishman speaking 2 weeks ago, and he says his problem when he was a manager was being too loyal to players. And he says, Sir Alex Ferguson says to him, if someone makes a mistake, you get him and help him to overcome. If he makes the same mistake again, his view was get rid of him, because he'll never stop making any mistakes. So we now have a concern over Julien, who made the same sort of mistakes at Livingston and again Sunday against Kilmarnock. So we can't just persevere with these guys because we've spent money. If they're not going to do the job that they're paid to do, we need to look at somebody else as well.
I'd agree with you, but they're all season pros as well, Stephen, and everybody will make mistakes as they go, but they've got to learn for the mistakes. And I'm quite sure with Duffy being in there, he will help alleviate the mistakes that's coming in there, and he could possibly just gel that together, and he could become the main source in there, the main captain, to take the lead for the guys when it becomes to the defensive part of the game.
But I think what happened, Jim, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong in saying this, I think the way we set up against Kilmarnock was wrong. We played them the 20th of January down there with 3 at the back, and we totally controlled that game. I'm concerned that Neil Lennon decided to go with a 2 at the weekend. You know, same pitch, same dimensions, yet we changed the formation of the team for something that worked.
But sometimes you've got to do that, Stevie. Sometimes you've got to change the formation to suit the way that he's actually thinking of the game, as you know. But I would agree with you that the formation, I wouldn't have changed as much. But sometimes you've got to do that as a coach and as a manager. You've got to change the formation of your team to suit and to adapt the circumstances.
Attitude had a lot to do with it as well. I thought on Sunday the attitude was poor right for the very start, Jim. They started slowly, even in the first game with young Ayer against Hamilton. I thought that was a case. Maybe the speculation of moving to Italy is affecting Ayer. He's still a young man, but that's maybe what Stephen's saying about Duffy's experience coming in and organising at the back. And, you know, we just looked unorganised. And the point Stephen makes a good point. Back in January, we were so much in control of that game. Yeah. And I don't think Kilmarnock's team's changed that much, Stevie, is it, since January?
But I would think if you're Celtic Football Club, the fixtures are all out, you know what you've got to play. Most of your guys have come through the youth setup playing the 4G pitches. Celtic have the availability of 4G pitches that they could have got to the correct dimensions of what Kilmarnock's going to play at. We could have told the groundsman, don't water it, get it playing slow the way Kilmarnock done, so we were in a perfect position to face the exact same circumstances which we'd done on Sunday, where now the park's becoming an excuse. I don't think Celtic should be making an excuse about 4G Park.
I agree with Stephen, Paul.
If you've got the facilities, I think that's a great point, you know, and Greg Taylor was quick to say that after the game. He was asked about the surface. He says, we're not going to use that as an excuse. So you're absolutely right. If we're not prepared for it, Stevie, then, you know, that's our own fault, really. When you look at, going back to your earlier point, when you look at the formation that was chosen by Neil Lennon, there's a decision to be made based on the performance of the previous week or the performance within that game under those conditions. So you're saying it would have been better for Neil to look back at the performance against Kelly the last time we played at Rugby Park, rather than staying loyal to the team that started against Hamilton?
Well, if they're going to use the 4G pitch as an excuse, go back to that previous experience. I say it's not that long ago, in January, you know, when we really played very, very well down there. 3-5-2. You know, Griffiths and Edward, fantastic that night. Yeah. But Scott Brown everywhere in the middle of the park. I say the guy who was playing up front on Sunday was the exact same guy in January. Didn't he trouble us that night? I thought 3-5-2 was the ideal opportunity for Sunday.
We've got some excellent comments coming in. And Roman Connolly, I'll let you answer this question, Stevie. Is he a dominant centre half, Shane Duffy?
Yep, really dominant. Go win the ball. Sometimes maybe he'll just go through somebody, which I would like him to do, rather than let them run through and go. You know, and he'll take a red card or a yellow card if it's necessary. But good, solid defender. Now, remind us of his name again, his full name. It's Shane Patrick Michael Duffy from Derry. Some footage arose on social media of the bold Duffy, kind of, you know, showing the fact that he might be Celtic minded. What's your thoughts on that? He's very Celtic minded, but I didn't see the video and I'm not going to comment on that. Allegedly. Jess Clark, yes on Duffy, but he's also asking for Hickey and Boyle. Now, someone commented yesterday, we didn't get round to the comment about Boyle at Hibs. He started off brilliantly this season, as of Hibs. I know they weren't great the other night, but that's 3-3 for Hibs, 3-3 for Rangers. As long as we're not playing, we're giving them an opportunity, Stevie, to build up a lead. Is that an issue for Neil Lennon's men, or do you go back to what Jim and I spoke about yesterday, that he works well in adversity? I think Neil would have to get his squad, and the fact that you're looking at these guys, you would like them to bring them out, get them a wee bit used to it, because they'll not be able to probably play in the Champions League if they're not signed by tomorrow. So if we get the squad that we've got and Neil works for them, the points are better in the bag, obviously, but I don't think it's that late. You're not having to play 5 games in 2 weeks towards the end of the season. We can catch these games up. That's a good point. Back to Stevie talking about the back three there again. He's right in the aspect where it doesn't matter how he wins the tackle, the back three won that tackle, as long as they win it. There's a time to play nice football. There's a time to play defensive football.
there's time to play attacking football, and sometimes there's just a nice time to play a wee bit ugly as well. Whatever gets us the result. So a good point for you there, Stephen, that regardless of how he wins that ball, as long as he wins it, and if it's an ugly way he wins it, fantastic.
Jim, we were discussing Bobo coming through in the car. You know, that was all Bobo done, and guys were terrified of Bobo. It would be nice to see somebody centred in the middle there, just giving us a wee bit of presence,
a wee anchor.
Aye, you know, and I know it's about keeping the ball and playing the ball out and how Neil likes to play, but sometimes you use that word ugly. I know you were looking at Stephen when you said that, but you need to go and try and just win it anyway. And that I don't know if centre forwards are looking at our current two at the back and saying, you know, I can take them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Because they do like to bring the ball down and play football.
Aye.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But as you say, sometimes you just need the hard man to come right through them.
We were talking as well, Stephen made a good point about the goalkeeper on Sunday. The goalkeeper threw a ball out and got us up the park, you know, till somebody shouted at him, told him to stop playing it. So it was going to Big Julienne, then it was going to Scott Brown in the middle, and we were stuck. Mm-hmm. It was exactly the way Kilmarnock wanted us to play. Instead of getting them in the back foot and, you know, and understand it's all about possession. But sometimes you need to mix it up a wee tiny bit, and certainly something that we never done on Sunday.
Going back to some of the comments, they're coming through thick and fast. And Alex Howhouse, thank you for commenting via YouTube. Would prefer Duffy alongside Ayer instead of Julien. He commands his box and can also play out. Julien had too many mistakes in him, and this season is too important for silly mistakes. I would comment as well that, you know, other than the Livy performances last season, which were obviously bad, poor performances up against Lyndon Dykes, and then at Rugby Park on Sunday, Julien has been one of the main men. I mean, you don't become a bad player overnight.
I think he's been outstanding. I think he's been the best central defender. Again, do you have to look at it? Does he have a problem playing in 4G or plastic pitches? You know, which impacts on him? Because any other game, he's been far away beyond the best defender at Celtic.
No, definitely. And we can't forget that. The comments will continue on that subject, but there's a few things we would like to say on the Bolingoli matter. It's been the subject of conversation all week, Stevie. And the first broadcast that Jim and I were involved in, you know, it's safe to say that we got stuck into that because we wanted action to be taken. On our way through this morning, Jim, you and I spoke about Bolingoli and the fact that, let's not forget, he's a human being. Right, he's maybe a privileged footballer. He's been extremely stupid in what he's done. But let's not forget, he's a human being, and for the last few days, there's an immense amount of pressure on this guy. I
know the Celtic supporters that's listening home and around the world will be compassionate as well. He's done what he's done. He's been silly. He's been irresponsible. But Stephen's involved in a very special project at St Roch's. It's called Rock Talk. So we can't forget that if somebody is now in isolation and his thoughts are going through his head and what he's done, I hope the man's okay, and I'm feeling a bit of compassion for him, that I want him to be okay mentally, and the man is all right. And I'm quite sure, and hopefully the rest of the Celtic support throughout the world think that as well. As a player, he's done one thing, but he's a man, and we've got to look at it and say, we hope his health and his well-being is all right, Stephen. And that's how you look after people at Rock Talk when you put the programme on, whenever it comes back, or if is it back just now?
It's going to come back on Sunday.
Come back on Sunday. I wish you all the best for that. So that's my wee bit there. Some people may criticise me for that, Paul. They may not, but that's me. Now, as a coach and away from being a coach or a manager, I would still like to know the well-being of the individual. I would like to know his thoughts. I would like to see the media being used as a vehicle for him and his agent to come out and explain what he was thinking. Yeah. Because he knows, again, Paul, you said about being in a privileged position. I understand that, but I would really like to know his thoughts on it. And again, that alleviates the pressure of what you're saying, Jim, what he feels, you know, getting into depressions, things like that. I don't know if that's come out yet, Stephen, is it? Has he said anything, or has his agent come out and spoke? Not to date, Jim. I mean, Stephen, this would be a good opportunity, I guess, for anyone who hasn't heard us talking about Rock Talk previously, for you just to give us an insight into how this is working and how it's going to work again on Sunday, but also what your thoughts are on Bolingoli in relation to
the pressure he is now under?
I think if you take it back to the start, and again, as Celtic fans, you always just wish that their players feel the same about the club as what you do. None of them do. They're selfish beyond belief. And Bolly has emphasised that. You've now got a full package. You've got a moral dilemma and you've got a business decision to make. So we all have an opinion, all the Celtic fans. Peter Law has a decision.
Yeah.
So if you take it back, I would imagine it's a minority of Celtic fans who are conservatives. Dominic Cummings broke the protocol and everybody wanted him sacked. Boris Johnson prepared to front him, thinking one day you're front page news, the next day you're a fix-up rapper. He's still in position. We have an asset that's worth £2 million. So that's where Peter's decision comes in. But you do have a duty of care through Celtic Football Club to look after this guy. There's a precedent set many years ago by Chelsea when they sacked Adrian Mutu, which was 2004.
Yeah.
He got a 7-month ban and Chelsea dismissed him. It took to 2018 for the Human Rights Court to confirm that he owed Chelsea £15.2 million. So it was 14 years. So if through the HR and Celtic they decide to sack Bolly, it can take 14 years to get your money. So we have an asset that, again, the moral judgment is, you need to get rid of this guy. But as a commercial decision and a PLC, you need to look after it. To go back to your guy's original point, I think it's very, very disaffecting of the PFA Scotland, Fraser Worship particularly, that none of these guys have come out publicly and offered any support to him. I went on their website this morning, there is no mention of this incident. So I think he's been left and hung out to dry by the people who should be representing him.
Absolutely, Stephen. And that's why I'm saying, and Paul's saying today when we were talking before we came on air, that we've got to put that wee message out there. And I'm no one for the guy being sacked. I don't think he should be sacked. I think we should look at it as a business, the business side, and say, how do we actually get our financial rewards back? By dismissing them, we won't get that. So Peter Lobel and the board of directors have got to try and turn around this round and to make this financially beneficial to them. And the Chelsea story, you're bang on with it, Paul. He's bang on. It took all those years.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is as well, Stevie, if you've got a player and you sack him and he's worth, let's say, $2 million, you've then got to replace him like for like. So you're £4 million down before you get a replacement in. So after the shock and the surprise of what's happened, I think we're now able to level it out a wee bit and look at the scenario and say, well, is sacking him the best option? Clearly not.
I think you would have to look at the contract. Again, I was a trade union representative for many years and represented many people in trouble. So you would try and find the weak point in the company manager's argument. This doesn't seem to be any weak points if you're coming from Celtic's HR point of view, if they wanted rid of him. Apart from breaking all the protocols, his direct instruction from the manager, he's understood them, he's endangered people's lives. So probably, legally, he doesn't have a leg to stand on. So this is where you need to go for a bit of compassion for a young man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You go your holidays and you're queuing up at a phone years ago to phone your man and dad because you've run out of pesetas. You're only away for a fortnight. These guys are in different countries, don't know anybody, don't know how to fit in. So we really have a duty of care to this young man.
Yeah, and it's a good point, and I'm glad that we've made it on a Celtic State of Mind today. A few other questions and comments coming through. James Downey on Facebook. Duffy is a quick fix. I mean, at his age, he might be a quick fix, Stevie, but it's what we need for this season. And as we've said on this podcast, time and time again, this season is a priority.
I think it gives you the time to even look at somebody else. If Shane Duffy's only here on a year's loan, that you can get your scouting system out looking for another centre-half. I know the last 6 transfer windows, we've made an inquiry for McKenna in every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So is he the long-term goal? I know I heard Kevin saying the other day he can play centre-half at left-back, but God, I've never want to see McKenna playing at left-back for Celtic.
Never.
No, never.
But as I say, I think he would be good for 10 in a row. And then we've given our scouting
I don't think that's a bad thing, is it? Just to bring him in for that.
No, short term, because as we say, 10 in a row.
Are we the first club to do that? Or I wouldn't think so.
Not at all. Short term signings, under the circumstances anyway, the loan system has to be used, Stevie, more than ever before. But as Jim kind of underlined yesterday, 10 in a row is a priority.
Of course.
So if you bring in somebody on loan and he's 28 and you don't have the usual model criteria of bring in, develop, sell on, and all that kind of stuff, then it's a short-term gain, and that's all we're looking for at the moment.
Paul, guys, the rest of the world will look, as the season goes on a wee bit as well, maybe I'm dreaming saying the rest of the world, but the Celtic supporters around the world will be looking on, and the viewing will get better if it becomes Celtic are progressing the way that we want it to progress. Guys like Duffy's is now given a platform to show again that they can go and play for Celtic, and people out there, clubs out there, are seeing them for the rest of the UK and Europe. And if it's a short term spell for him, then great. But if he helps us achieve what we want to achieve this season, then fantastic. I'll take him all day long.
Jim, I think that's what it's about. Just this season to get to 10. Totally agree with you with that. I think that's just I think it's everybody's aim, every supporter's aim, to create the world record and get to 10 for us. How it's achieved
doesn't matter.
No, not really. As long as we get it. And I think if you spoke to most Celtic supporters, they would agree with that.
Aye.
I know the things that Paul's saying there about, progressing, bringing guys into the team, these are all things that are important. But just for this one season, that might be the most important issue.
And it is the most important issue. Stevie, I'll reiterate this as well. If you've got to go out and win a game, or a game that's important to you, it doesn't matter how you won that game, as long as you won it. See if there a team has got 50, 60, 70, 80% of the game, and you score that goal and beat them, it doesn't matter how you played that day. As long as you get what you want to achieve, that's what matters, and that's what matters for Celtic going forward this season. However we do it, doesn't matter. And
if we don't, social media will be alight with, all the problems why we didn't do it. I think it's the most important thing, Paul, that we do.
Oh, definitely. Gary Doonan, who is a long-time contributor to our broadcasts on A Celtic State of Mind, reminds us that Virgil van Dijk came to Celtic as a 22-year-old and he didn't look the superstar early on. Remember Karagandhi? We do have a good tradition of developing players, Stevie, but right now I'm more than happy to buy ready-made players to step right into the Celtic side. And the other one, obviously, that we've discussed this week is Ajeti.
Just hoping that, as we were speaking earlier on, we're not signing his twin brother by mistake. He's Adonis Ajeti. Seriously, that's his twin brother.
Is that his name?
But the boys got the track record in it. 29 goals in 58 games for Basel. So £8 million move to West Ham. It fits ideal, we're bringing him in. Absolutely ideal. But these are guys that I think just walk into the team. I'm not looking. I know I'm probably, and I hope I'm wrong with the Patrick Klamala thing. I hope he proves me wrong. But I was saying to the guys out there, Paul, it doesn't matter how much time I polish my Ford Focus, it's never a Bentley. And I think that's the problem I've got with that boy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to do a job for Celtic.
Do you think Neil Lennon has realised that, having given him a few run-outs over the last few weeks, Stevie?
He didn't give him enough time. So if Eddie's playing and he didn't play particularly well, I'm an Edward fan, but he didn't play particularly well, and he's still reluctant to put Klamalo on. There's got to be a reason. If he's the guy that he's come back all bulked up and he's got this great shape, if he's no ability, then it's no good. We could go and sign a cyclist. They've got a great build as well.
Paul, if I can jump back one, you were saying about Van Dijk coming to 22 years of age. Jim, you remember us signing Pat Stanton from Hibs? The difference it made to Roddy McDonald. Absolutely. Just having experience beside him. If Stevie's read a litany of what that boy can bring to the team, I don't think that, but I think it'd be fabulous. Aye,
I think we're all in agreement with that, Jim. Stephen Ray, thanks for getting involved, Stephen, via YouTube. I could be wrong, but the signings of Barkas and Ajeti is the first time we've paid for proven international players with European football experience back-to-back since Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink, Gravesen and Jarisic. And I think that echoes what we're trying to say here, Stevie. We're buying proven players that walk straight into that side. And in order to get that into that Celtic side, you're paying a minimum of $5 million, aren't you?
I think if you go back to Martin O'Neill's time, all these big signings were worth the money for Celtic. Every one of them came in and played. You run to Seville, every goal scored away from home was for your big stars. Nobody else scored away from home. It was just big stars that scored. These guys can turn up and play in any difficult surroundings.
Stephen's made a good point in the past about his signing projects, boys that are coming to the club and for the future, and I think what you said is that's a good point. We need guys that can come in, go straight into the team and make a difference for
projects at the moment. As Paul and I has discussed previously, we're not interested in long-term projects at this particular time. We need the guys like that come in for Martin O'Neill, hit the ground running. And the team and the squad has got to embrace these players that come in, so they're settling quickly, so they're in the fold, so they understand the system, so they understand what the manager's looking for. They understand right away, and they're made feel welcome. They're settled into their accommodation, wherever that may be. They're welcomed like a family. They must hit the road running. There can't be any passengers. There can't be anybody that's not decisive and want to play for Celtic. There can't be any players that is unhappy. We must have a happy squad and a team working together in harmony.
I think any top professional will bring that to the team, Jim, as Stephen said about O'Neill signings.
Yeah.
You know, it was like a jigsaw. They just come in, and again, you know, they were the guys that scored all the important goals for us.
Yeah.
Thompson, Sutton, they done the business.
We take it back, Jim. At any grade of football, if you're going to play for a team and you're good, within 10 minutes of getting the ball out, your teammates know you're a player.
Correct.
If you're no very good, they ain't passing the ball to you.
They're not getting you.
So when these guys are coming in as projects, they're not accepted into the fold the way guys like Shane Duffy and that'll come in who are established international players.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Absolutely. And that's a good point, Stevie. They know right away. They know if he's one to work, if he's a good player, which he's good on the ball, so let's see what like he is off the ball, let's see what like his attitude is, let's see what like his temperament is, and see once they find all that together, they go, we like him, he's good.
Stevie's just summed up a five-a-side career. After 10 minutes, nobody passed the ball.
Players in a changing room will test you every day.
Yeah.
They'll test you to see what you can do. If you can't play at the same standards and you're breaking down the drills, they're complaining to the manager and the coaches, and you're out the door.
You're right, Stevie, and that comes from youth to amateur to junior to professional, all the way through. And it's a great point. It's a brilliant point that you've made there.
Kevin Graham, who I think the listeners will be aware of, and he's mentioning the fact that the profile of Duffy reminds me of Lennon's first season. We were linked with guys like Bullard and Campbell. Remember Jimmy Bullard, Saul Campbell, I think David James was also in signing talks. I still think we weren't as bad at the back as folk made out on Sunday. It's the lapses in concentration. If you go back to the Lazio games last season, become famous victories, Stevie, that lapse is what turns it from a win to a draw. But it's that lapse.
But if you have a solid base and you don't make that lapse, you win the game. Mm-hmm. So we weren't under much pressure. We goal didn't even the day, but we lost a goal by a lapse. But if you don't get that goal, you're coming up the road with 3 points and you've not got any of the dramas that you had.
And I think going back to something we mentioned before about Julian, Gary Doonan points out again, in between the Livingston and the Kelly games that we've been mentioning, there was the League Cup final and the Lazio games where Julian was tremendous, which he was.
Yes, definitely.
Outstanding.
So again, you know, when you look at Kevin Graham's comments about us not being as bad, Shane Duffy's going to improve that situation in any case, isn't he?
Well, I would imagine, and again, I'm not going to be a cheerleader for Shane Duffy, but see when you've got the wee controversy whether the ball's out for a throw and the wee guy's going up a wing, I think Shane Duffy's taking him out of play, no letting the guy run by him, defending and backing up into the box. Where you concede a penalty, where you could have conceded a free kick. Yeah,
you just take him out. Now, Jim, you've got some good news. We like good news on a Celtic State of Mind's bulletin after all the chat.
Yes.
And you've got some good news to share with us about the Jimmy Johnstone Academy.
Yeah, first of all, they're looking for players in the age group of 2007-2009. Would that be right, Paul?
Yes.
Fantastic. So, the Jimmy Johnstone Academy Charity Trust are in the final nominations for McDonald's Grassroots Awards for integrating within the community, for projects with the SFA and UEFA and various other organisations, including BEMIS and the Freedom from Torture programme that they've been involved in. The awards night shall be via Zoom, Wednesday the 19th of August, but we shall confirm via our social media outlooks, Paul, the exact time and when the ceremony take place. So good luck to everybody at Jimmy Johnstone Academy and Charitable Trust who work at the front, and certainly all the people who work in the background that nobody really ever sees. So I'm delighted for them, and I'm delighted for Agnes Johnson.
Jim, I see some of the work that goes in, not all of it, and it's an incredible amount of commitment from yourself and your team. It's brilliant that you are nominated for an award, and it's a bit of a double celebration for us because, you know, you've got that award ceremony coming up, and a Celtic State of Mind have been nominated as the best international podcast, and that will happen in November, that award ceremony. It'd be great if we could go down to it. If not, I think we'll just zoom it from in here. And hopefully we can win that award as well, Jim. So well done to you and all your team.
And well done to you and all your team as well, Paul. I think it's fantastic. And Jimmy Johnson Academy Charitable Trust will continue to work in the community. And we're looking forward to working with Stephen at St Roch's, where we will be holding the inaugural James McGrory Cup, where Jimmy Johnson a select team and a St Roch select team whenever we're deemed okay to do that.
Now, last week, Jim, you might not want to name the person, but we were able to convince, and it didn't take much convincing, a superstar of the rock and roll industry to wear the hoops, or indeed the St Roch top in that game.
I don't mind, and I'm quite sure he won't mind either. And he knows of St Roch's, and the smile on his face when we done the Zoom call was fantastic. For a man and his band to have sold over 30 million albums, want to come to the James McGrory Park and play football for both Jimmy Johnston select team and St Roch's is none other than Saul Davis of the great band James, and who will hopefully bring along some of his other friends in the musical industry. So I think it's going to be a fantastic day at St Roch's when we get the go ahead to do it, and it'll be a brilliant day. And for the inaugural and the first ever that we're aware of trophy being played for James McGrory, it means so much to myself. I think it's going to be great. So if everybody just keeps tuning into yourself, Paul, and you can let the listeners know and the viewers now that when that's going to take place. So looking forward to it, and that's the first time we broke the news to Stephen as well today. So that's brilliant, isn't it?
It's brilliant, and I know for a fact that Saul was texting this morning asking for a fixture date,
yes,
so that he can fly over. He's buzzing, and hopefully he can bring some of his rock and roll pals as well to play for the Rock. Is he even a sub?
He's the B-side.
He's on the B-side, exactly. I like that. Colin Watt from Facebook, welcome Colin. Colin will be on the Bulletin tomorrow afternoon. A Jetty deal done, £10 million nearly spent already. Duffy on loan would be great. I wouldn't rule out a move for Turnbull after Hammond was at Fir Park last night. Now, again, you know...
Scored last night, yeah.
He did, Jim, and you think back to the boy being in a Celtic jersey, sitting in the boardroom, just about to be unveiled as a Celtic signing. One of Scottish football's finest talents, up-and-coming player, and then that horrific injury that was underlying that put him out the game. So it would be brilliant for him to make a full comeback. And I mean, when we look back at him beforehand, the fear was, will he ever be the same again? It always is. Stevie, you think of some great Celts that we've lost over the years. Even John Kennedy comes back, but he breaks down. So I'd love to see Turnbull first and foremost get back to what it was before the operations.
Yeah.
And if he can, is he a player that we would be interested in, Stevie?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate both of you on getting nominated. What a great achievement. It's fantastic. Well done, guys.
Thank you.
The Turnbull deal, you know, how sad and for that young man. You know, he's sitting there, it's like, get back to Jim Bone with bullseye. This is what you could have won. But I think Celtic, even at that time, were happy for the deal to go through. Motherwell weren't, because I think they were going to reduce the fee until he'd proved his fitness. I think Celtic were still quite happy for the deal. If everybody places their trust in Neil Lennon the way they claim to do, you need to trust his judgment. And he obviously thinks Turnbull's a player and the answer to some of our problems.
I think that as well. Aye. Certainly if Neil fancies him, he'll go back. The point you're making about the boy getting underway, you know, and getting back to that level of fitness and the ability that he had, you know, that's important for us. But I think if Neil fancies him.
Kevin Graham disagrees with one of the points that's been made, and he says that we're being a wee bit harsh on Klimala. When Eddie came in, you could see he had something, but you couldn't quite see what it was. I see Polish Paddy as the same. I've got to disagree with that, because when Edward came in and I saw him at Hamlin, I thought straight away the boy was different class. Complete, and I'm not just saying that with hindsight, because anybody that's gone to the games with me will know that I always thought he was different class. Klimala, I think Neil Lennon will know in his heart of hearts right now whether or not he's going to be at a standard that he thinks can change the game. I go back to Rugby Park on Sunday when you put Klimala on. Did you honestly believe that boy was going to change the game? Because I think, it's easy to say Lee Griffiths would have changed the game. Lee Griffiths is the type of person that would go in there and do something. I didn't feel as though Klimala had that in his locker.
But if you're looking at the game, and everybody looks at the game differently, so Kevin's point is as valid as any of ours, and I know Kevin won't be able to answer this because we're on the mics. What did he see on Sunday that would make him think that he can be your match winner in the next game against Reykjavik or the following game? I don't see it, and I certainly hope he proves me wrong because I've invested a lot of money in him.
How long did he get on Sunday? Was it 12 minutes or 8 minutes? How long was he on for?
Well, it wasn't as long as half an hour. I mean, we were screaming for changes, half an hour before the end of the game.
I think it's really hard for these guys, Paul, to for people to have sort of opinions. As Stephen says, you just hope the guy comes good, but we're really not getting much to see him.
Stephen made a valid point. No, you need these players need time. Any player needs time on the park. They need game time. Young players need game time. Seasoned pros need game time. The subs need game time. Sometimes the substitute could be your best player who comes on and he makes an impact in the game. But I'm actually going with Stevie there. If I'd have had Griffiths, Johnston or Rodgick on the bench, would I have been more comfortable with they three with coming on to make an impact and giving us a wee bit of hope? I think my answer to that would be yes, Stephen.
But you can make a difference. Mohammed came on at the same time, was man of the match in my opinion. Contributed more than that 15 minutes than anybody else. I don't think Klimala done anything Sunday.
I
don't disagree with you.
And you're playing against Kirk Broadfoot.
Aye, I don't disagree with you.
Eddie suffered through Dumbelly playing fabulous. No, maybe it's a wee bit of Klimala suffering because Eddie's there and Eddie's the star. Maybe that's the case, he's not getting games. But again, we're agreeing about Neil Lennon signing guys. Our confidence in him signing guys, sometimes we're not getting to see them.
But again, Jim, guys, that if I'm in that dressing room and I look at these other players on about me, I don't care. I'm going in and I'm going, I'm the best player in here. I'm busting it in. I'm going to show that it's no Edward.
Klimala's saying that.
Aye.
Klimala's coming out and saying that.
Aye, but he's still, for him not to get in the starting 11, he's still possibly not making that impact at training or making that impact and impression that he should be making. So the way for him today is just to keep working away, and then when he does get the chance and the opportunity to shine, he's got to shine.
Is it part of the problem that you don't play 3-5-2 on Sunday because Neil doesn't fancy him to work alongside Eddie?
Well, that's a very valid point, because if you look at in a 3-5-2 formation, Stephen, and as you know as well, that the two strikers, they must be strikers attacking and they must be strikers defending. They two type of players will not become strikers defending. They will stay up in that last third of the park, stay up high. The first striker will not come back and work with the midfield. And certainly Edward's not that type of player. So there's two players, good point again, that are probably very similar. So the strikers defending won't work, they won't come back, one won't come back and cover for the midfield, come back into the latter part of the midfield and cover. So that's a good point on that. Maybe too similar, they don't want to be strikers defending, but we definitely need a striker defending in that system as well to go forward and to have a backup with the second striker. That's only my opinion, but I like your point.
I think our goalie had only one thing to do on Sunday, and it was pick the ball out the net. I don't think maybe that was a problem for us on Sunday, about strikers getting back to help. I really don't. I just think we needed to try and change it about a wee bit. Klimala's there. We trust in Neil's judgment signing these guys. I think he should have got a wee shot.
But what I'm saying, Jim, is the striker still got to come back and defend in the midfield. He if you put the two on together,
sure,
none of them's doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where maybe Neil Lennon's looking at maybe too similar. So he's looking for something a wee bit different in there.
Yeah.
Celtic Rab says that's brilliant for the Candy. We've obviously got a few Candy fans watching the broadcast, and it's exciting times because you know, although we're in this lockdown and we can't get to the football and all this kind of thing, Stevie, the work continues at St Roch's. And what Jim has just announced there by saying that we're going to have people flying from all over the world to play in the centenary match, I just think that's outrageously spiriting under the circumstances, to have something to look forward to, that we can all get together at James McGrory Park to play that centenary game. The question on everybody's lips is, will you be putting your boots back on?
No. they don't fit me anything.
High heels, Paul. Boots, no.
They don't fit.
The great thing about St Roch's just now, we're going back to Rock Talk, during the pandemic, there's been some fantastic work done at the park, which people, when they come back, will be able to see it. And without fail, it's been done by all the members of Rock Talk. They've got rehabilitated. There was one boy in particular that I spoke about on our own podcast about, I didn't think I'd ever reach this guy. He's in now painting every day, he's joining in, he's there at 9:30, he's not going home to 4 o'clock. If nothing else happens and the season doesn't even start, this guy's a success of the summer to me.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Outstanding. Absolutely brilliant, Stevie. And, you know, when you hear of the fact that these people found day-to-day living difficult as it was, the pandemic just makes it even worse. And you've given them a lifeline during that time. So hats off to you, Stevie, and everybody that works alongside you in there.
There must be something in the overall, we'll see.
Keep the comments coming in. We're going to be running for another couple of minutes, but thank you all for joining us. It's been a busy broadcast today with plenty of comments. Colin Watt, as I said before, you'll be joining us tomorrow. Very harsh on Klamala. Even the best striker in the world would have struggled on Sunday with the dreadful service we provided. 2 shots on target, the goal and an Eddie shot from 30 yards. The best player in the world would have struggled at Rugby Park. What's your thoughts on that?
I think the guy's right. I think our shot was, how many shots did we have on target?
2 shots on target.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Without a doubt. That's how, going back to that thing about changing it. Stephen's saying getting into the 3 at the back, changing the formation. We just started the second half as we started the first half.
I totally disagree with the caller, because if Mbappe comes on last night and just turns the game,
he does
best
something.
players in the world just does something different.
Aye.
So I don't think you can claim the best player in the world's anywhere near Klamala.
What I would say, final comment today on the Rugby Park game and the disappointment, I think Alex Dyer is a touch of class in Scottish football. He came out, you could see that the press were trying to get a wee soundbite out of him to criticise Celtic or Bolingoli, and he stood up for Neil Lennon and the club. I think the boy's class. Absolutely.
I think it's like
class.
Davy Big Andy Mullen, another good All Saints boy who's his assistant.
He is.
That's
Good
right.
Celtic man.
Of course.
His son had a good game.
He did. He's a good
His son had
player.
a good game, right?
His son used to play with Jim.
Clyde. He was at Clyde when I was at
Kid had a good game.
At Clyde. He was a good player then, and well done to young Ross. Well done. And Andy's a nice guy as well. Andy's a nice guy.
So fair play to them. Now, what I'd like to say here from a Celtic State of Minds team is thank you everybody for joining us. It's been a busy broadcast. Loads of comments to get through. We try and get through as many as possible. We're all feeling a bit disappointed, but I think, you know, the new signings are going to give us a boost, and hopefully when we get back to playing football, you can join us again on a Celtic State of Mind. Stevie, Jim, thank you again for joining me on a Celtic State of Mind.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Great.